if you don't know about Courtney, Courtney's been in the fitness industry for over 20 years, really close to 30 years. And she's got a huge passion for helping people, but she's got a really huge passion about helping females especially too. And today she's going to basically be going over her journey, as well as just giving us a vast amount of knowledge that she has about the ketogenic diet. So with that being said, thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, and I'll probably sit during some of it, but I just want to say thank you for all of you guys coming out here during your busy schedules to sit down with us. My whole objective here is to just spread the word about keto, to maybe share some of my tips and tricks that have helped me on my journey, and maybe you can walk away with this with one new piece of information that can help you on your walk, because I have definitely struggled on my health and fitness journey. So before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about me and my why. So I have a beautiful 15-year-old daughter. I'm a Colorado native, born and raised. I'm an outdoors junkie, adventurous. But my daughter's 15 years old. I've been a single mom for most of her life, and she's amazing. She's the reason I breathe. We love to do adventures. As you can see, we're always out and about doing something exciting. So my other why are these two little stinkers. So I have two Vishlas, and they're amazing. They're amazing. This guy right here, he's on the keto lifestyle. He was given 6 months to 2 years of life expectancy after amputation due to osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer. And I switched him immediately after finding out the prognosis, and we are at 1 year and 8 months, and he is still charging it. He is still out there hiking with me. So I truly believe in the power of this lifestyle. I'm seeing it change the lives of so many people around me. Like Dr. Al said, so I have been in the fitness industry for 10 plus years. I really got into fitness, I would say high school. High school, I began lifting weights, and I really felt how good it felt to be strong and powerful, and just, it was really empowering to me. So from there, it spiraled. I have 2 years under my belt for my degree in nutrition science. I have my certifications in fitness and nutrition. And I've now been on the keto life for, it'll be 3 years, the 27th of this month. So that's next week or something like that. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And like I said, this lifestyle has completely changed my life. So we're going to start by just talking about keto, what is ketosis, and then we're going to just kind of go through some top points, some top tips that I have as far as how to apply this lifestyle to what you're currently doing today. So with a show of hands, can anyone tell me who has heard of keto? Everybody. Yay. Okay, who is following keto? Anybody? Ish? Ish. Okay, and we're going to talk about that because there's so many different ways to do keto. There is no one size fits all. So what is keto? It's a low carb, high fat, moderate protein lifestyle. What is ketosis? Ketosis is the magic that we're all trying to achieve on keto, and it's basically when you switch your body from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. So in today's society, we're sugar burners, right? We are all carb people, I would say, for the majority of the part. And unfortunately, it's led to an epidemic, I would say, in our nation, as far as heart disease, obesity, I mean, the list goes on. But the way you reach ketosis is basically your body can hold a certain amount of what's called glycogen, okay? Your body stores glycogen in your muscles and in your liver, and it's basically when you have an abundance of carbs. So when your body's not using all of the carbs that you're eating, it's going to be stored as glycogen. Now your body can only hold a certain amount of glycogen, whereas fat we can hold endless amounts of. So that's why it's so awesome when you began transitioning from being a sugar burner to a fat burner, because you are literally relying on your body to fuel yourself. So ketosis is where all the magic is, and we'll get to the benefits here in a second, but I think this is really important. Is fat the real enemy? So do you guys all remember, I'd say 80s, early 80s, when the whole low fat craze came about? Okay. So that all came about by a wonderful man called Dr. Ansel Keys, and he absolutely fooled the nation in the 80s, telling us that fat is the enemy. But unfortunately, his studies were super skewed and super biased. So basically, he was an influential physiologist from the University of Minnesota. He was an avid proponent of the Mediterranean diet, and he was solely responsible for basically making it popular that saturated fats are what cause heart disease. So at that exact same time, Dr. Yudkin was going against him and saying it's not saturated fat, it's sugar. Well, unfortunately, Dr. Ansel Keys had all of these top dogs behind him. So it really shut down Dr. Yudkin's hypothesis, and through that, the nation really adopted the fact that fat is what causes all of the issues. And by doing this, food companies began removing fat from foods, and by doing this, they began adding sugar and salt to make it taste good. So, which is a huge, huge, huge problem right there. So, is fat the real enemy? And the answer is no. So, when any of you have talked to other people about keto, do you ever get pushback saying, oh my gosh, what about your cholesterol? What about your blood pressure? Fat is bad. This is the reason why. So I'm here to really debunk that, and it's exciting because I feel like as a nation, we're growing and we're becoming more educated. More research and more studies are coming out to show that this actually isn't true. And just so you know too, at the end, I'll open it up for questions. Okay, so now we talked about sugar is the biggest issue here. Sugar is the enemy. And unfortunately, like I said, food companies began adding sugar to all of their processed foods to make it taste better. And they became really tricky. Do any of you read food labels? Is that a part? Okay, good. I highly encourage it. I didn't do it. I really didn't do it before keto. But when you read food labels, really start to look for some of these names. So these are names of sugar that are hidden in processed foods. And so it's really important to know what you're putting in your body, because a lot of times when we have, especially these sugar substitutes, it spikes insulin response, cortisol response, causes inflammation, causes water retention, which just stirs up the body and causes a whole bunch of problems. So when you're looking at food labels, really start to look through these. Another one that should be on here is honey. So although honey is natural, it's another thing that they can put in there to hide that sugar. And unfortunately, sugar and fructose, which fructose generally comes from fruit, they're processed differently in the body, but they both turn to glucose. So people, you'll hear also when they're talking about keto, I don't want to give up fruits. I didn't either. I used to juice literally every single morning. So that was the hardest thing for me, was giving up the fruit. But once you began transitioning into keto, you start realizing, wow, maybe it's not that important, you know? And a lot of people will have the argument, well, you get so many vitamins, you get so many micronutrients from fruits. Yes, that's true, but proteins and meats have so many more micronutrients than vegetables as well as fruit. Any questions on any of these? No? Okay. So, like I said, be looking for those when you're looking at labels. Keto benefits. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So when I first began keto, like I said, was July 27th of 2016. I just jumped in full speed. I didn't have any support groups. I didn't have any books that I read. So I highly encourage you to do it differently. When you can walk alongside somebody who's also been on a lifestyle and learn through their mistakes, it's going to make your experience a lot easier. But for myself, I had actually heard about keto on a podcast by Joe Rogan. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Oh, yeah. And he talked, isn't he awesome? So he talked about keto, and they really talked about the digestive tract and how keto affects the digestive tract. Well, my entire life, I struggled with digestive issues. I won't get into the details, but literally after every family dinner, I'd have to go lay down. I was hurting, I was uncomfortable, and it continued on literally for my entire life. So when they began talking on the podcast about this, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to try it. I kid you not. 2 months into my journey, my digestive issues completely cleared up. I'm not just talking a little bit. They completely cleared up. On top of that, my daily headaches, weekly migraines became non-existent. So for myself, those were my top 2 benefits. On top of endless energy, all of a sudden I started having more energy than I've ever had, better cognitive function, better memory, hormones balanced out. So here are literally the top 10 that I believe are the top 10 keto diet benefits. So better quality sleep. I sleep like a baby now. I sleep so good. Weight loss, appetite reduction, which I'm going to actually talk about right here. So when we begin restricting carbs in the body, there's two significant hormones that are affected, ghrelin and leptin. So when you begin restricting carbs, ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, really, really significantly decreases in the body. And leptin, which is the hormone that makes us feel satiated and full, significantly increases in the body. So is that not just such a win right there? So for myself, I literally used to wake up in the morning and have all of my meal plans out. I had to eat within an hour of waking up. I completely avoided the discomfort of what hunger brought. And I hated getting that crippling hunger, those crippling hunger pains, that hangry feeling. So this right there was huge for me. Being able to go throughout my day, not having that crippling hunger, being able to take control back of my diet and what I put in my mouth was huge. So when we restrict carbs, like I said, ghrelin and leptin are significantly impacted. And that's why so many other diets fail. How many of you have tried another diet and it's failed, right? It's because you're always hungry, or the food doesn't taste good. It's really bland. You're removing things that make food taste good. So that is a huge plus. Higher energy levels, mood improvements. So this lifestyle literally can be used to treat many mood disorders, anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. So the cognitive function on this lifestyle is huge. So mood improvements, improved heart health, improved liver health, lowers your blood sugar. This one, ladies, oh my goodness, reduced inflammation. Our endocrine systems are crazy. They are so complex. So in us as women, whether it be our monthly cycles, whether it be menopause, or whether it just be pregnancy, going through life, those are constantly imbalanced. One of the cool things about keto is it helps balance out those hormones, which is going to significantly reduce inflammation. Inflammation also just causes pain in the body. I've had so many clients come to me and just say, oh, I had a client literally 2 weeks ago, she's been on the program, and she said, you know what I noticed? I have had abdominal pain for the past year, and literally 2 weeks into this, I don't have it. I feel like my stomach's shrinking. Inflammation's huge, and we don't even realize how it affects us. We've become adapted to feeling like crap, unfortunately. As a society, we've adapted to feeling like crap. So reduced inflammation is a huge one, and then like I talked about, improved cognitive function. Here's some more as far as in details. Triglycerides tend to drop drastically. Increased levels of HDL, cholesterol, which is the good, and lowers LDL, which is the lousy. My mother, for example, when she began the program with me, she had a cholesterol of 249. Within 4 weeks, she got her blood panel retaken and she dropped to 149. So it was insane. It was insane. Reduce blood sugar and insulin levels, and it may also lower some blood pressure. So keep that in mind. If you hear people coming to you complaining about, oh, I went to the doctor and I have super high cholesterol, or anything like that, really let this be a bug in your ear to say, hey, I might know something that would work. Any questions on that? And you know what I'll do? I'll stop asking if you guys have questions. I'll do it at the end. Okay, let's talk about fat, because on keto, there is good fat and there is bad fat. Right here, I have a list of oils that are good versus bad. Typically, the bad are going to be composed of hydrogenated oils, which we'll go through here in a minute. But these are the good fats. Some of my favorites are butter, coconut, and avocado oil. I cook with those all the time. And then aside from oils, here are some other examples of good fats. So avocado, chia seeds, flax seeds, cheese, nuts. This right here is huge. When it comes to your meat, fatty cuts of meat are fantastic on keto. I love eating chicken thighs. I don't even eat chicken breasts anymore. But it's really important to get good quality meats. I cannot stress that enough. The meat industry has gone south in so many ways. Unfortunately, our animals are aside from being treated terribly, they are pumped with antibiotics and so many other nasty things. And when we're putting those into our body, we're getting the same thing. So when it comes to your meat, I can't stress enough how important it is. If you're gonna spend money on anything, spend it on good quality meats. Because when you're eating low grade meats, it's gonna spike that cortisol response. It's gonna cause that inflammation internally and just cause a whole bunch of issues. So, fatty cuts of meat, bacon, who doesn't love bacon? And fish. So, those are just some examples of some good fats. So let's talk about the bad fat, because of course everybody loves the bad fat. I know I do. So trans fat is the enemy. Trans fat is really the fat that you want to stay away from. And what is trans fat? Here are some examples of what trans fat looks like in food. When you hear trans fat, really think of processed. Really think of processed foods. Fried foods, pastas, breads, desserts, all of that fun stuff, all the yummy stuff, right? That's really what we want to stay away from. We, as a society, honestly, we've become really disconnected with our food. We tend to go for the quickest, the fastest, larger portions, and we're losing that connection with our food. So with any of my clients, I always say it's really important to have that hands-on connection with your food, and to meal prep. Do things in advance so that when it comes time, you're in a quick hurry, grab and go. Instead of running to a fast food chain to grab fries and a burger, have something ready for you to go and take with you versus having to do this. So like we talked about decades ago, Ansel Keys basically demonized saturated fats. And like we talked about, that's when the food industry began adding sugar as well as salt to the foods to make it taste better. But saturated fat was never the cause of heart disease. So if anything I can give you advice on, stay away from processed foods. Stay away from processed foods because we unfortunately don't know a lot of what goes into that, and unfortunately a lot of it is low quality. That is not good for our bodies. So that's what is the bad fat that you want to stay away from on the keto lifestyle. This slide I think is super important. There's definitely ways to do keto wrong. Keto is not just about bacon. It's not just about cheese, about the keto snacks, the keto baked breads, and unfortunately so many people have that in their brains that that's how they're going to do keto. And unfortunately, you might not see the results you want to see or the progress that you want to see because you're not doing it correctly. So I wanted to give 9 examples. If you've hit a stall, if you're like, oh my gosh, I've been keto, it's not working, or anything like that, really evaluate some of these and say, okay, am I doing some of these? Not eating enough fat. So remember, the keto diet, it's not just low carb, it's high fat. And especially when you're first moving into the keto life, in order to help curb those carb cravings, you need more fat. Fat's gonna make you feel more satiated. So not eating enough fat could be one of the proponents of that. Eating too much protein, that's another one I find so many people doing. So our bodies are smart. Unfortunately, sometimes they are too smart. So an excess amount of protein in the body can actually be converted to glucose. It goes through a process called gluconeogenesis, and it's basically where the proteins are broken down into glucose and it's stored as glycogen. So if you're eating too much protein and you're not using that protein, your body's gonna store it as fat. So keep that in mind and ask yourself, am I eating too much protein? Eating too many calories. So, I mean, let's face it, keto tastes amazing. I think that's why this lifestyle has worked so well for myself as well as so many others, is because the food tastes awesome. So making sure that you're not overindulging in that, making sure that you're eating to where you're full and not stuffed is huge. So making sure that you're getting in your targeted calories and you're not having a significant surplus, otherwise you're not gonna see weight loss. You might even see weight gain. So keeping track of your calories is another one. This one, oh my gosh, my clients get so annoyed with me. Drinking water, oh my goodness. When anybody comes to me with, like I said, a stall or a plateau, the first thing I ask is, how much water are you drinking in a day? And most of the time the answer is, oh, I know I shouldn't be drinking. I know I need to be drinking more than I am. Water is crucial for the body, as we all know, including burning fat. So if you're not drinking enough water, your metabolism will slow, which halts in your weight loss. And when we first move into ketosis, your body naturally depletes itself of sodium and water. So getting ample water, especially in the beginning stages of keto, is huge. A good marker I like to tell for people is shoot for half of your body weight in ounces, minimum. I tell my clients shoot for a gallon, and I know it sounds crazy. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but yes, you will be peeing a ton in the beginning, but your body adapts. It gets easier. I know one of my clients, she'll actually get a gallon of water, and she marks it with exactly where she needs to be at during the times of the day. And it's a great way for her to make sure she gets in her water. So I say do a minimum of half your body weight in ounces, do a maximum of a gallon, and then just see what that does. Not replenishing your electrolytes. So just like your body is shedding water, there goes your electrolytes. So who's heard of keto flu? Has anyone? Okay, have you experienced keto flu? No, okay. It's not fun. It's very real. So keto flu is when you are in those beginning stages. When you're restricting those carbs, your body's gonna all of a sudden say, what are you doing? What are you doing? So you might experience some flu-like symptoms. For myself, low energy was one. Not sleeping, nausea. I mean, there's a whole list. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but keto flu is real. So making sure you're getting in ample electrolytes as well as water, potassium, and magnesium. Those will help you with those flu-like symptoms.
What do you suggest for the electrolytes?
You know, there's so many amazing powders out there. Okay. If you go with a powder, though, really make sure you check the ingredients, because a lot of them like to put the sugar in there and all the nastiness. I had one of my clients, we were looking the other day, and we found one online with 0 carbs, really inexpensive. So Amazon's like my best friend when it comes to ordering. Eating too much dairy. So this is another huge one that people come onto keto and they think, oh my gosh, I can eat all the cheese and dairy that I want. A lot of us have a sensitivity to lactose and we don't even know it. A lot of times when we eat that dairy, when we ingest it, same thing, causes that inflammation, spikes our insulin, causes that cortisol response. So if you're struggling and you're saying, I'm doing everything right and I'm not seeing changes, ask yourself, am I eating too much dairy? Like we said before, eating too many keto sweets, eating too many keto baked goods. Yes, every once in a while it's great, but every single day, no. Getting your hands on whole foods, salads, green leafy vegetables, high quality meats. It's all really, really important when you're on the keto lifestyle. Snacking too much. Like I said, I used to be a habitual snacker. Now I really don't snack. I normally do 1 to 3 meals a day without too much snacking, and it works perfectly. So if you're used to your diet now and you're snacking a lot, just know that will start to change on keto, and just be aware of it. Be aware of it and try not to eat too many snacks. And then eating hidden carbs without even realizing it. Reading food labels is huge. A lot of companies like to hide the carbs in condiments. So check your sauces. Check to see what you're putting in, as far as your ketchup, your salad dressings, things like that. See if there's any hidden carbs in there that you may not be aware of. So if you're doing keto and it's not working, maybe go through these 9 and say, okay, am I doing any of these? Let's maybe change it up and see if there's any changes. So, keto gone wrong. So carbs on keto are counted a little bit differently. And I didn't know this when I first started keto. Oh my gosh, and I was killing myself trying to get 20 to 30 net carbs per day, or 20 to 30 carbs per day. So on the ketogenic lifestyle, you want to have a target of 20 to 30 net carbs per day. Ketosis can still be reached with 50 grams or less, but that 20 to 30 is where your target needs to be. Your net carbs is going to be your total carbs minus your fiber minus your sugar alcohols. So here's a food label I just wanted to put on here. On here you're going to see the carbohydrates as 8. I used to count that. I used to think, oh, okay, this is 8 of my 20. Great. But you want to minus your fiber as well as minus your sugar alcohol. So that brings it down to 1 net carb. which makes it so much more attainable on the keto life. So make sure you're counting your net carbs. Another huge benefit on keto, and what I highly recommend, especially when you're first trying it, if you've hit a plateau, if you've hit a stall, start tracking. How many times have you, at least for myself, I'll at the end of the day say, okay, I need to track, what did I even eat today? You know what I mean? What did I even eat today? And a lot of people, to me, make excuses. Oh, I don't have the time. It's such a nuisance. But if you get in the habit of every time you eat, jumping on an app and throwing in your food, oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier at the end of the day, at the end of the week, to say, okay, where am I at? What tweaks can I make? Because a lot of times it's the tiniest tweaks that give us the biggest results. So tracking is huge. I like to use mainly these two apps. Carb Manager, I'm kind of obsessed with now. I used to only use MyFitnessPal, which is great. They have a really good library as far as what foods you can list, but they don't track your net carbs. So Carb Manager does your net carbs, and it's so easy to use. I didn't even realize it. I'm such a creature of habit, so it's like if I'm using something, I don't want to change it. So Carb Manager is awesome. So highly encourage you to track your food, see where you're at, see what tweaks you can make, and be aware of what you're putting in your body. It's so much easier to turn your head, just keep eating and not pay attention. But if you can pay attention and really see where you're at, you'll be able to make those tweaks to some change. So let's talk about macros. Does everybody here know what macros are? Most of them? Okay. So it was funny, like 10 years ago, I had my trainer say, he mentioned macros, and I was like, I don't even know what it is, and I don't even want to ask because I'm too embarrassed. So macros are the nutrients that our bodies need in large amounts. They're fats, they're proteins, and they're carbs. So a balance in your macros is huge for your overall health. Studies show that eating too much or too little of a single macro increases one's risk of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And unfortunately, the worst offender of the three is carbs, but the one carrying the greatest stigma is fat. So keep that in mind when you hear macros. Think carbs, proteins, and fats, okay? And that's really important for our next piece, because when it comes to determining where your macros need to be in accordance with what's in your lifestyle, there's different ways of doing keto. Like I said before, there is no one size fits all. I truly believe that most diets fail because people go in and they change everything. They jump in both feet and just try to change absolutely everything. Well, unfortunately, that's hard to sustain. People burn out. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into it, they burn out. So finding what works for you, something that you can sustain long term, is key, is absolutely key. So just know that there's different ways of doing keto, and finding what works best for you, something that you can sustain, is huge. And what I tell people too is start making small changes in your lifestyle. If you're used to having a glass of wine every other night, make it every 3 nights. If you're used to having sweets every night after dinner, change that to every other night. Start making small changes in your lifestyle that you're going to be able to continue on and make it more of a habit. So these are the different types of keto. I'm going to go through each one pretty specifically because I think it's important. Lazy keto is basically when you're following the keto life, but you're not tracking. And you're still keeping your carbs within 20 to 30 net per day. This one is awesome, but it's also hard because when you're not tracking and paying attention, a lot of times you fudge, you make mistakes. But what's the word I'm trying to use? How easy is that to sustain tracking your food every single day? Like, I don't do that. I will track if I have something coming up, if I have a photo shoot or something like that, I'll track. But tracking all the time is hard. So I know a lot of people, and I would say most people, follow the lazy keto approach, where you're following keto, you're just not tracking. Dirty keto is a little bit different, and that's where you are basically eating what you want with sticking to your 20 to 30 net carbs per day. When I have an awesome keto group in Facebook if any of you are interested. But a lot of times people will post and I'll have a lot of fire back saying, oh, that's not keto. No, that's not keto. No, you can't eat that. if it works for you, do it. If it works for you, do it. If you can still keep your 20 to 30 net carbs per day and still eat the little bit more variety, go for it if that works for you. There is no perfection when it comes to health. It's about effort. It's about progress. And so many people focus on the perfections. So dirty keto is following keto ish, but still getting that 20 to 30 net per day. Standard keto is what I recommend for anybody who's wanting to jump on the keto wagon. I say stick to standard keto and see how it works for you. So it's the high fat, low carb, moderate protein, and your macros need to be 75% fats, 20% proteins, and 5% carbs. So those are the traditional macros for keto and where your target should be. That's for standard keto. Myself, I follow these two. These are the two that I follow. So, oh my gosh, how many of you have heard you can't build muscle on keto? Man, I heard it like nonstop. When I made the decision to move to keto, I was killing myself in the gym. I was doing 2-a-days, going in the morning for cardio, going in the afternoon for weights, and it absolutely killed me. I wasn't getting the results that I needed. But when I started doing keto, I noticed such crazy changes. You can build muscle on keto. There is a way to do it. Getting your macros to align with that is what you need. So I follow more of the high protein keto diet. I typically get about 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per body pound. But by doing that, you have to lower your fat. So if you're an active person, you're saying, oh my goodness, or if you know of an active person who's wanting to try keto, but they're worried about losing muscle, talk about the high protein keto approach. Because like I said, it's a great way to build muscle on keto while losing that body fat. But it's really important to make sure that you lower that fat. And then aside from that, cyclical keto is also what I follow. And it's not necessarily, I would say, for muscle building. For me, it allows me to have the indulgences that I still like, because I still love pizza and donuts, and that's important to me. I want to have a lifestyle where I can still have the foods that I love. So cyclical keto is where you follow standard keto 5 to 6 days per week with 1 to 2 days of high carb and low fat to replenish those glycogen stores. So those are the different types of keto. Like I said, there is no one size fits all. So finding what works for you is huge. How do you find where your macros need to be? There is a website called ruled.me, RULED.me. They have a keto calculator, and it will align with your lifestyle and what you have going on as far as how active you are, sedentary you are, and what your goals are. If that is to lose weight, gain muscle. So ruled.me is where I recommend going. Start there. Figure out where your macros need to be. Okay? Tracking your progress. Oh my goodness, this one's huge. We are taught as a society that the scale is how we track our progress, and I am constantly yelling at so many women, I shouldn't say yelling, get off the scale, get off the scale. The scale lies. We can literally fluctuate 2 to 5 pounds per day, and typically that's inflammation and that's water. I've had so many women come to me and say, oh my gosh, I gained 2 pounds overnight, I gained 3 pounds overnight. It's water. Tell yourself that that's water, it's not fat. I'm sure you have all seen this picture before, but here's what 5 pounds of fat looks like versus 5 pounds of muscle, okay? So if the scale goes up, that's not always necessarily a bad thing or a marker that you are gaining fat, okay? It could just mean something else is going on. So get off the scale. That's what I recommend. There's other ways to track your progress. Measurements is awesome. I like to take monthly measurements to see where I'm at. How do your clothes fit? So if you have jeans that you used to wear 5 years ago and they don't fit anymore, try them on. Try them on. See how your clothes fit. Progress photos. This is one of my favorites. Being on social media and seeing transformation pics gets me super excited. It's really cool when you can have 2 photos side by side and you see the differences that you've made. It's empowering and it's encouraging, and it's a good way to track your progress over the years. Remember, it takes 4 weeks for you to see your body change. It takes 8 weeks for your friends and family, and it takes 12 weeks for the rest of the world. So just keep going. Just keep going. If you're consistent and you stay with it, you will have progress. You will see your results. Okay, so that's a little bit about keto. And I really wanted to kind of dive into specifics there. Before I move on, do any of you have questions about tracking, macros, anything like that? We're good? Okay. I want to talk now about my number one tip to getting you to your health goals. For myself, it has been a complete shift. And I think I have some awesome tips to give you to maybe help you shift as well. But mindset's huge. Mindset's huge when it comes to health. Being aware of your thoughts, self-love, self-awareness, what you think, what you tell yourself throughout the day. It's all super important. The conscious mind, this is crazy to me. The conscious mind controls 5% of your brain throughout the day. Your subconscious mind controls 95% of your thoughts. We have over 70,000 thoughts per day. So if you're thinking of that, 5% conscious, 95% subconscious. And that can be scary because if you're not aware of what your subconscious mind is telling you and feeding you, it can be really, really impactful. So being aware of your thoughts, listening to what you're telling yourself throughout the day is super important. Thoughts are real. So your thoughts cause biological and physiological changes in your body. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Your thoughts cause biological and physiological effect. Your body responds to mental input as if it were physically real. Say today I'm walking around and I'm thinking, God, I'm tired. I have no energy. I don't want to do this. Seriously, I feel like crap. I don't want to do this. Your body's going to start feeling that way. You're going to start feeling like crap. Energy's going to keep going down. You're going to start feeling more and more lousy because that's all you're telling yourself. When you're standing in front of the mirror and you're looking at everything you hate, oh, I look fat here, oh, that looks gross. Your body is listening. Your body is listening. So being aware of your thoughts and changing those subconscious to conscious thoughts is huge because the more you can control that subconscious mind and feed yourself with positivity, it's going to become more habit. Eventually your subconscious mind is going to take over, be filling you with positivity, and you're not going to even realize it. This is also cool. The brain is 2/3 fat. 2/3 fat. So why is fat so important? Fat on the cognitive function level is huge. Ketones versus glucose in the blood-brain barrier, such a difference. Glucose has a lot harder time breaking that blood barrier, whereas ketones, it's immediate. So the brain is super impacted by fat and by the fat that we eat. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about keto and you're thinking about fat. Think of what it's doing to your brain. There's so many benefits physiological, but what it does to our brains is huge. So the power of your thoughts, just like I said, every cell in your body listens to what you think. I know I'm my worst critic. I think pretty much everybody is their worst critic. But talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. Talk to yourself like you do. So if I were to look at Tasha today and say, oh my God, you look gross. What's up with your hair? You're looking fat. Seriously. Never would I do that. So why do we talk to ourselves that way? It's insane. And most of the time we don't even realize how we're putting ourselves down. So when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, when you're thinking about yourself, start telling yourself how amazing you are, how beautiful you are, how powerful, how handsome, how strong, whatever it is. It sounds cheesy. It sounds really cheesy. I was doing it today. I was literally standing in front of the mirror, looking at myself in the left eye, saying, you are strong, you are powerful, you are beautiful. The more you tell yourself that over and over, the more you're going to believe it, and the more your body's going to respond to that. So being aware of your thoughts is huge. Negative thoughts, they literally have no power. We were just talking about this. Literally have no power unless we give it to them. I'm one of those people who, if something goes crazy, I'm quick to react. And a lot of times, those negative thoughts start coming in and I don't even realize it. But if you can be aware of those negative thoughts, I'm not saying stuff them. I'm not saying disregard them. Accept them, but don't attach to them. Okay? Same, that whole fingernails thing. When you say, I'm not going to even say it. I can't even think of it. Never mind. But negative thoughts. So don't attach to your negative thoughts. Don't attach to those. Accept them. Don't stuff them, but don't attach to them. Instant gratification. I'm realizing I'm not even going on my notes here. I just got done reading an awesome book. Highly recommend it. It's called The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. And in the book, he talks a lot about instant gratification, which we as a nation are so consumed with instant gratification. We want it to be quicker, faster, and it just becomes this vicious cycle. But if you slow down and you stop seeking that instant gratification, it makes things a little bit more easy. So next time you're having a sugar craving, carb craving, whatever it is, instead of going for that instant gratification of feeding your face and boom, I feel great, even though I'm gonna feel crappy later, take a minute, take 30 minutes before you have that craving and you fulfill it. Wait 30 minutes, drink a glass of water, and see what happens, see what changes. Consistency, huge, 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 huge. How many people have jumped on something and jumped off, jumped on, jumped off? Consistency is huge. If you can stick to something, you will have progress. You will get to your results. Stay consistent and stick with it. Goals, positive words, and intentions. So hopefully, but I know a lot of people aren't, hopefully you're setting those. Are you setting goals for yourself? Are you setting those intentions of how you want your day to look? Whether it be weekly, monthly, yearly goals, I recommend writing them down. Literally writing them down. So I have a buddy who I used to work with, and he wanted a truck so bad. So what did he do? I told him, go home, print out a picture of the exact truck that you want. Put it in your cubicle and look at it every single day. Write your goals down. Post them up. Make it visual so that you're constantly reminded throughout the day, where do I want to be? Why do I want to be there? What's the end result? How do I get there? I literally, in my house, have Post-it notes all over. With just intentions, positive words to feed me throughout the day to say, okay, you are going to succeed. Do good, feel good. You are worthy. Post-it notes are awesome. So a little tip, if you have goals and intentions, start posting them up. Start posting them up so that you can see them every single day. And lastly, stop breaking promises to yourself. Oh my goodness. I just got done reading a book called Girl Wash Your Face. Highly recommended. But in the second chapter, she really talks about how we break promises to ourselves. I mean, shoot, I know I do it all the time. All throughout the day, okay, I'll get to this, or I'll do this, or I'll start that tomorrow. And we break them, and we constantly break them. And when you continue that cycle, you're going to start losing credibility with yourself. And unfortunately, that's going to start leaking into your relationships. You're going to begin breaking promises to other people. So when you're making those promises, be intentional. Be intentional with what you're promising yourself. Is it attainable? Is it something I can attain? And really be specific with that as far as making those promises. So, like I said, next time you make a promise to yourself, really ask yourself, am I going to stick to it? And if you know you're not, don't make yourself that promise. Make it for something that you're going to stick to and you're going to conquer. So, I wanted to put 2 memes up here because I think they're awesome. Every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts. And fall in love with taking care of your body. I think so many times people who jump on the health wagon, the health lifestyle, they're looking for that quick fix. They're looking for shrinking, 20 pounds for their class reunion that they're getting to, and then they just drop off. So really fall in love with taking care of your body. Like I said before, I feel like us as a nation, we have adapted to just not feeling good. And when you adapt to that, you don't even realize it. I can now say that I feel better at age 36 than I've ever felt in my entire life. I have more energy, more memory, more focus, all of it. So really fall in love with taking care of your body and not just sticking to, I need to lose 20 pounds, I need to do this, I need to do that. Fall in love with feeling good. Fall in love with feeling good. The power of fear, oh my gosh. Fear is what stalls and halts all of us. I know it does me. Public speaking, literally, is my worst fear. My worst fear. This is my first speaking event I've ever done with a live crowd. I basically didn't sleep last night. So facing those fears head on and really conquering them is huge, and it's something that I'm starting to learn and implement into my lifestyle. Fear only sees the downside. It only sees the downside. It doesn't let you stop to think it through. And it tells us to avoid anything new or unknown. We've become so adapted to feeling comfortable, But when you get uncomfortable, when you try something new and it just feels, oh, this isn't, I don't feel the greatest, that's where growth happens. That's where progress happens. So get uncomfortable. Try new things. Go for the unknown. Fear constricts rather than expands who we are. It obscures your intuition, and it often keeps us from even making a decision at all. So fear is a liar. Fear is a liar. So when you're facing something that you're avoiding or you're pushing off, really ask yourself, what am I scared of? What am I scared of? Is it to try something new? Whatever it may be, conquer that fear. Conquer that fear and hit it head on. So we're almost done. I kind of want to just go through some testimonials right now because this is the part that speaks the most to me. So I am a keto specific nutrition coach. I am the owner of Ginger Roots Fitness. I started my own business end of 2017, where I am a personal trainer in gym, at home, and online, as well as keto nutrition coaching. So if you or anybody know of somebody who's wanting to get in touch with a coach, somebody to walk alongside of them, my plans are very one-on-one. We have weekly meetings, check-ins to say, okay, what's working, what's not working. Each plan is built specifically for you and your lifestyle to say, okay, what are you doing today? I don't want to go in and screw everything up. Let's keep some things as are and then make some changes here and there. So for the next slides, I'm going to show you my clients and some of their transformations because they're powerful. They are so powerful. And which is the reason why I truly believe in the power of this lifestyle. So this girl right here is my bestie. This is Tasha. She's right here. We went to grade school together for a year and a half. And we lost touch completely. And then she reached out to me about a year and a half ago, I want to say, for a coaching experience. So I'll never forget Tasha coming to my house and we sat in my reading room and oh my goodness, just this look of hopelessness. I've been there. Trying everything and it doesn't work. You feel hopeless. You feel like food controls you. And when you feel like food controls you, that is such a hopeless feeling. It's so hard when you've dug your hole to dig your way out. It's so hard. So having her come to me and seeing just almost the desperation in her voice, it was a big challenge for me, and I was super excited. And I can literally say that Tasha to this day is a completely transformed person. Aside from losing, 50 pounds? 50 pounds? She's been on this lifestyle for, a year and a few months? Maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started, she was on 6 prescription drugs a day. Anywhere from anxiety, depression, thyroid. She is prescription free. So that to me is one of the biggest wins. On top of that, she's told me she feels better than she ever has in her whole entire life. And to just see somebody completely transform and shift, gain that control back, begin loving themselves, begin to have that personal walk with themselves in such a beautiful way. It's really exciting to see. And to know that keto did that for me. It gave me that control back. It gave me that empowerment back. And it's doing the same for so many people. So this is Tasha. I mean, look at this. That's just insane to me, looking at her pictures. On the next slide, I wanted to put this one up because this is Nancy. She did a 4-week program with me. So this is only 4 weeks. She came to me with more than just a weight loss goal. She said, the visceral fat in my abdominal cavity is the hardest for me to lose. And I've tried this lifestyle for a year. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. Can we please try it? So I said, absolutely. We got her on the program. She was also going through pre-menopause. So she was really struggling with not sleeping, hot flashes, everything like that. Within 2 weeks, she called me for a check-in and she said, this is insane. She's like, I'm sleeping through the night. I have not had a single hot flash in 3 days. So keto really helps balance out those hormones. If you know of anybody, especially women, struggling with those hormonal imbalances, PCOS, send them my way because this lifestyle can absolutely help treat many of those things. So this is Nancy and her transformation. This is Rich, another girl. Both of these were 4-week programs. 4-week programs. It's insane to me how much you can drastically change inside and outside in 4 weeks of following this lifestyle. So those are those 2. And last but not least, there's me. This is when I was crazy for the gym. Crazy. 2-a-days. And I trust me, I don't think I looked bad at all. But I wasn't where I wanted to be. I struggled. Everybody has a beginning. You can't compare your journey to anybody's. But when I first started, I should say this picture, I was killing myself, doing 2-a-days, trying to eat healthy, trying to restrict, and just getting so frustrated because I see these fitness models, I see these women in the gym, and I'm like, why don't I look like that? I'm doing the work. Can you build muscle on keto? Absolutely. You can build muscle on keto. I want to debunk that right now. If anybody says that you can't build muscle on keto, send them my way. Because I have more muscle than I've ever had following the keto lifestyle for 3 years now. And like I told you before, for me, it's not the physiological benefits that I've noticed most. It's internal. Sleeping better, cognitive function, digestive system, all of that fun stuff. So I truly believe in the power of this lifestyle. I truly do. I wouldn't be up here talking, I wouldn't be doing my live videos in my Facebook group if I really didn't believe in it. It's changed my life. It gave me that power back over food, and I took control back, and it feels so good. So that's a little bit about keto. That's my number one tip to health and lifestyle. How long did I go? Yay! Any questions? Anybody? We're good?
I have 3 of them.
You do?
Yes.
Okay,
So
shoot.
tell us, you talked about trans fats.
Yes.
What exactly is a trans fat?
So trans fat is typically hydrogenated oils that are put into foods. So, and I'm not gonna get, I can't give you
Can
like.
I answer?
Yes, please.
So Eric, when we have our fats and whatnot, the actual cell at the cellular level, we have these. It's basically carbon, hydrogen, and they're forming basically shapes like this, right? These are called cis because they're the same way. They're both angling the same way. A trans fat is basically when that oil or that fat has been processed and changed, and these lines end up changing. Basically where you end up having them going opposite ways. That's what the structure of that trans fat looks like, and because of that structure, it makes it more difficult for the body to absorb, break that down, and use that fat.
So it's basically just a cellular change.
Trans fat, so a cis fat is a more natural fat. A trans fat is a processed fat, if you look at it that way. It's just the shape of the molecule itself.
And isn't it hydrogen? I think hydrogen is also added as a molecule.
So there's hydrogen, so it's actually a hydrogen that gets taken off that's allowing that to change the shape, if that makes sense.
So it's just the cellular level, I guess. That's
Exactly.
the biggest change. But when you think of trans fat, think processed. Fried. Nasty.
Okay.
Yeah. Dish number 2.
Lactose.
Yeah.
It is a sugar.
Yeah.
And so we process it the same way as we do fructose or anything along that line, or how does that work?
Yes, ish. Did you want to tackle this one?
Yeah. So
The reason why I'm asking is because when
Yeah.
we're talking about replacing with dairy products or increasing that, we're actually
Right.
still increasing our sugar intake that's lactose. And some of us can't tolerate it as much as others,
Absolutely.
but it's still a sugar. So where are we on the ketosis level with the sugar from lactose?
I think everybody's different and you have to monitor how you react to.
Well, do you want to handle that? Because I think there's 2 different questions there. One I think is an insensitivity to lactose, and the other question is dairy products causing our intake of sugar to be higher.
It's a higher carb count, right? With
Yeah.
lactose.
And
Does lactose affect carbohydrates?
And certain lactose, because a lot of lactose doesn't have that higher carb count. It depends on what grade you're going for. So like when you're looking at heavy whipping cream, it's going to have a lower carb content than milk, for
And
instance.
so that's where reading the labels and seeing how many carbs or sugars are in each dairy product. So dairy products
Not
are gonna.
processed. Just think not processed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
so you're gonna notice that soft cheeses, for instance, have less carbs than hard cheeses. And so there's different things like that, and it's part of how it's being produced as well, what they're putting into to create it. So
And same with milk. When they're taking out the fat, when you're looking at skim, 1%, 2%, they're adding sugar. So they're adding sugar to make it taste better. So when you're looking at your milks, the more processed, the worse it's gonna be. So when you're going for your creams, you wanna go for high fat. You wanna go for things that haven't been processed, ones that haven't been broken down where sugar is being added.
So does whole milk have less carbs than 2%
Absolutely.
then?
Yep. And whole milk still has more carbs than heavy whipping cream.
Mhm.
Yeah. So reading food labels is huge. Knowing what's in your food, counting the carbs. But if you can make it fit, like a lot of people, Greek yogurt, they'll say no, keto, no Greek yogurt. I have a lot of clients that love Greek yogurt, but you have to get the full fat. You have to get the full fat one, without the sugar and with all the other stuff. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
What's your favorite?
Yogurt sounds really good.
Oh,
Last one. You didn't reference intermittent fasting.
Oh,
You were
yes.
literally gonna ask that question.
Thank you. I just skipped
You
that part.
said
And
1 to
I
3
had-
meals. I was like, oh,
Yes.
intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Here.
So intermittent fasting is awesome. It's awesome. I literally practice it every day. And I like to fluctuate it. So keep in mind, intermittent fasting, it's not restricting your calories. It's not restricting your nutrients. It's basically shortening your window for when you get in your nutrients and you get in your calories. And there's definitely different ways to do intermittent fasting. I typically say if you're going to start practicing it and implementing it into your lifestyle, start with a minimum of a 14-hour fast. 16-hour
There you go.
fast. Yes. Start with a minimum of that. So if you're, waking up, I'm not going to go through the math, but basically stick with the minimum. And there's so many positives. I've never done like a 3 or 4 day fast, maybe because it just scares me, but I've heard of awesome things doing that too. It literally shocks your body, kicks it into overdrive on the cellular level. It's like basically amping up everything, immune, metabolism, everything. Resets your body on a DNA level.
Do you have lists of foods?
List of foods as far as like what to eat? No, but there's so many. Make me that. Yes, absolutely. So if you are not on Facebook, I have an awesome Facebook group called Adventures in Keto. In there's so many recipes that are shared, and on there I've actually posted, I should have put that on here, Dawn, a list of what foods are keto approved and not keto approved, but it's a long list. And keep in mind, like I said, you're gonna see a lot of non-keto approved foods. Ask yourself, is that something I'm willing to give up? You know what I mean? And for most of them, because I'm talking like edamame will probably be on there. I love edamame. So things like that. But yeah, there's definitely lists out there. I'll send you some. Yeah.
When it comes to intermittent fasting, we've had a conversation about this. Does the time of day really matter? Should you be fasting through the morning, or should you be trying to probably fast through the evening instead? Does it matter at all?
We have a fight over breakfast is important, breakfast is not
Oh my
important.
God, well how, that's been a nation.
Yeah,
As a
it's
nation,
like
that's been a
breakfast is the
question.
most important meal of the
Yes,
day.
yes.
I studied
I used
nutrition
to-
in college a little
yes.
bit, so I'm like, no, it doesn't matter when, it matters what or it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if it's one in the morning,
Exactly.
but what and how much.
But how many times have we been told that? You have to eat within it. I used to literally eat within an hour of waking up because I was told that's how you start your metabolism. That's how you rev it up. No. So I say for intermittent fasting, there is no particular time of the day that's better. Figuring out where your window needs to be and what works for you. So for me, a lot of times I will intermittent fast until 4 o'clock in the evening.
Yes.
And then from 4 until 8, I'm going to bed full. I'm going to bed with a stuffed tummy, but I'm waking up feeling great.
Oh, yeah.
Hitting the gym, crushing it. And keep in mind too, I would say not most, 95% of my workouts are fasted. Yeah, and I love it. I feel like I have so much more energy and strength to power me through my workouts fasted. Yeah, especially in cognitive function. That's basically one of the biggest things I notice with intermittent fasting. When I'm in a fasted state, my glycogen stores are completely depleted. I'm running on fat for fuel. Man, I'm on fire. I can go.
So it just depends on how you feel. Like he wakes up super hungry. I wake up nauseous. Don't bring food.
Well,
near
hers
me.
actually changes all the
It
time.
does change.
She
I'm
goes,
a woman.
We're
We
women.
went
Yes.
for breakfast for like
Hormones.
6 months, and I'm like, all right, I'm used to this now. And she's like, I'm not eating breakfast anymore. I went, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna just
I
skip
had to
it.
choke down bacon this morning. I was like, I am so nauseous.
Well, be
eating.
aware of that. That's what I
Exactly,
tell
and I
people.
try to listen to my body as best I
Yes.
can. I mostly just try to drink water in the morning. Or
So
coffee.
not taking a
Absolutely.
break until 4.
But listening to your body and being aware of that,
Yeah.
that's what I tell all of my clients. We are so conditioned as a nation to eat at a certain time, to do this at a certain time. Listen to your body. If you're not hungry, don't force it. If you're hungry, eat. There are some weeks, okay, this
I'm
week
watching the
has
clock.
been,
It's hard to
that's
eat,
how I
right?
used to be.
Never
So,
hungry.
but this week, I was just telling Tasha today, I don't know what's up with me this week. I have not been hungry.
Yep.
Last week, I could not stop eating. I was ravenous. So, you're gonna have fluctuations. Listen to your body. It's gonna tell you. And when you start restricting your carbs, you're gonna become more body aware. Your body's gonna tell you. I will literally sometimes during the day say, I am craving the most random thing, eat it, feel great. So being body aware and listening.
I'd say the two of you are also starting a really great conversation here because you're a couple, and I think that's the hardest thing about it because so you're on live right now. There's probably people that have questions out there about a spouse who's not necessarily excited about the keto lifestyle when somebody else is.
Absolutely.
And so being able to walk into a house where cookies are baking all the time and you're really trying to stick to your diet is a really
Dawn.
big struggle.
We've had that conversation.
You have another wife?
We've definitely had that conversation about being supportive of each other's financial, or not financial,
That
food,
too.
finances, yes,
We're getting married, so
nutritional
we're going
needs, because it's easier, possibly easier for one of us to stick onto a diet than another.
Right.
And it's also times where we are invited to different things where everyone around us, like you said, baking cookies, walking into a room full of baked cookies or beer or something of the sort where you're just ice cream or
So
something.
indulge every once in a while. Indulge. So know when those events are coming. How many times I'm faced with that weekly where I'm at an event and I was fishing on Saturday and I felt terrible, but I was planning on just fasting for most of the day just because I know what a pain it can be to do it on the boat. But a girl brought all this nasty food and I really had a hard time saying no after like the 5th time. So sure enough, I was like, screw it. I'm going to just have a hot dog and a bun. It's going to be great. So knowing when those circumstances are coming up and having those indulgences from time to time is okay. But being able to support each other, it's hard.
I think for us, he's a man.
Right.
I'm a woman.
And there is such
We have
differences.
different needs in many different ways.
Absolutely.
But food, I mean, I have totally different hormones than he does.
Totally.
So I feel like being like you said, being supportive as a couple, but also being okay with being on a different schedule, I think is where we need to find our level ground.
Right. And I think
us.
that's huge.
Can I-
Finding what works. Go ahead.
Can I jump in on this? Because
Yeah.
this is a really good conversation. So there's a lot of stuff that's being talked about, and there's a lot that goes into this, especially when you're talking about somebody falling off of diets and sticking with them long term. A lot of that has to do with what you value and what is valuable to you. If that food is valuable to you, more valuable than whatever that health goal is that you have, then you're gonna there's gonna come a point in time where you hit a threshold and you're going to go for that food. There are ways to actually remyelinate the brain, basically rewiring your brain to understand that there are benefits to things that you do not like, and by rewiring that, you will you'll actually use pain. You can actually use pain and fear and discomfort and especially discomfort and pain to propel yourself into a different direction. Because oftentimes we do have these conflicting thoughts where I really want to lose weight, I really want to build muscle, I really want to look great for beach season, but at the same time, I really want that piece of cake. I really kind of like want to celebrate with those people and do this thing that is going to put me in a situation where I'm going to overeat. A lot of that has to do with also being in the mind and being able to understand that and use it to your advantage. There's so many good things that Courtney talked about. Like, I bet you Courtney could talk a half an hour on every single slide that she has there. So for anybody watching, if you do have any questions, definitely reach out to Courtney. Check out her Facebook group. She's she's got a vast amount of knowledge. I actually, just watching, I want to touch on a couple of things actually. So when the body's changing, like Courtney talked about the body changing from burning sugar to burning fats, that's a huge change for the body. Sugar causes inflammation. The brain was actually, when we were cavemen, back in the day, when we were first eating, we didn't go and bake bread and eat bread, right? We were hunter-gatherers, right? And so that's how the brain was developed. And so when we're talking about feeding the brain the right fuel that it wants, the brain has had to adapt to start to use sugar as a fuel because we force it to. It was developed eating proteins and fats and, some berries and fruits and stuff like that, leafy green vegetables. It wasn't used to really eating these very sugary processed foods.
Drinks.
Exactly. And so when the brain starts to burn ketones, and that's what the ketogenic diet is, it's the brain and the body using ketones, which is
From
a
fat.
derivative of fat.
Right.
And that's when that's when you get these physiological changes, cognitive responses. Your cognitive abilities are heightened. You're sleeping better. There's less inflammation. And one of the things I want to talk about inflammation is that inflammation in the body is a big issue. We are overloaded with inflammation at this point, like our society right now. And it's one of the reasons why that's what I measure for as a chiropractor, as a neurostructural chiropractor. I'm looking for shifts of the spine that cause nerve inflammation. There are other ways to reduce inflammation, and this is one of the reasons why I really want to educate people, is that one of those biggest reasons doesn't have to do with me, it has to do with you and your diet. And so having somebody like Courtney in your corner can be, that person that can help make it or break it for you when it comes time where you're about to hit that threshold and possibly, go for something that you don't really want to.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, no,
Because
absolutely.
food is medicine. Nutrition is medicine. We've become adapted as a nation. When something's wrong, what do? We pop a pill. We go to the doctor. We get on something so quickly. Food and nutrition can be used to fight disease naturally. I think that's huge.
Well, just look at the man-made disease of type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, if you don't know, it's a man-made disease. Type 1, that is not man-made.
Correct.
Type 2, it's basically when you are overeating these sugars and to the point where your liver, physiologically, cannot produce enough insulin to absorb that sugar, to burn that sugar, to do something with that sugar. And so the ketogenic diet can actually help to reverse that.
Right.
So there's tons and tons of benefits. People with epilepsy and seizures, because it all has to do with the brain. And just like Courtney was talking about, I loved how you talked about the power of thoughts.
Right.
Like we could do a whole class just on that alone.
Right.
There's so much to unpack. So.
Right. And like you talked about, the brain and fighting disease on the brain. I want to give you a story that I don't want to share the person because he asked me not to, but one of my best friends, her cousin, he's in his 40s, very healthy, ridiculously healthy, cut, athlete, was diagnosed with a stage 4 inoperable brain tumor. He was given 6 months to live. The only thing he did was he moved to the keto lifestyle. 2 years today, he's tumor free. Every time he would go in, literally the tumor had spider veins that were going into the brain, which made it inoperable. Every CT scan, those spider veins slowly started shrinking. That tumor started shrinking. So this lifestyle can fight cancer. Is it going to fight every cancer? No. But can it fight cancer? Absolutely. And disease, and inflammation, and type 2 diabetes, PCOS. So many women have PCOS, post-ovarian cystic syndrome. Something like that?
Polycystic.
Yeah, thank you. So many women suffer from that and don't even know how to treat it. They're taking over-the-counter medications prescribed by doctors, and there's ways to treat it naturally. Food is medicine, and like we talked about before, I think so many times we get on the path of health and lifestyle and making it a negative space. I have to do this. I have to go to the gym if I want to lose weight. I have to start eating healthy. I change those I have to's to I want to's. Start telling yourself those benefits. Why did you start? Why did you start this journey? What benefits are you going to achieve by continuing this lifestyle? So asking yourself those questions and making sure you're looking at health as a lifestyle, as something to sustain long term. It's not a quick fix. And the more that we become educated and aware of what we're putting into our bodies, the more we're going to, as a nation, fight these epidemics that we're seeing. We have the highest obesity rate, heart disease. I mean, the numbers are just climbing. It's constant. It's because we're living in a society that is full, like he said, of so many of these processed foods. We are sugar burners. We are sugar burners for sure.
I can give a testimony to this, actually.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-month process starting in the end of 2016, Christmas season. And after going to Nordstrom Rack and not being able to fit into an extra large shirt comfortably from just having dinner on the border and having a beer and some chips, went and decided, hey, I think it's finally time to go ahead and kick this into gear. And we had been to the doctor. My blood work was showing triglycerides at 550. So I was looking at pancreatitis, possibly heart disease in that situation. And in 3 months' time,
dropped my triglycerides down to 450, and the doctor prescribed what's known as phenofibrates, which are naturally occurring, but they help in cutting out bad cholesterol as well as lowering the triglycerides. And then cutting that diet in even stronger, dropped my triglycerides down to 90, and I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. So by sticking to the plan, yes, greens are a good thing. There's some sugars in there too, but it's good for your fibers.
And your body needs a little bit of glucose. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But then going strictly to the fats and the meats, it was incredible to watch. And I could all of a sudden fit in a clothes that I hadn't been able to really fit into for a while. It was pretty exciting, and people were coming over like, oh my goodness, there's a really big change in that.
And how were you feeling? How were you feeling on the inside? What changes did you notice there?
Well, the one thing that I really noticed is thinking was so much easier. So you're not lethargic, you're not stuck in it in that moment. You know how little sleep I get.
Yes.
So it's like, I was a truck driver for 25 years now. I'm a 2-business building photographer and model agency owner, but it's nonstop running. So I literally stay up until 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I'm back up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's the limited amount of sleep I get. And to me, that brain activity to stay on sharp, it's amazing how different I feel. And I've told Dawn that several times, the difference of being able to think and think. I may not catch everything she says to me because my brain is usually running a million miles an hour, but at the same time, to think through a process is so much easier when you don't have all of that heavy carb stuff going on in your body. And you can tell when you eat something that you know you shouldn't, because the next day you sit there going, wow, what a difference. Now it's like someone's holding you back, it's a rope around your waist and yanking you back when you really would have been running so much faster without it.
It's amazing how when you start to feel good, and then when you have an oops or a slip up or an indulgence, same thing with me. After a cheat night, which I go a mile when I give myself an inch, I wake up with more puffiness, lower energy. Is it worth it to me a couple times a week? Yeah, so I can have the greasy, nasty foods. But yeah, it's amazing how you really notice such a difference. I used to be a napper. How many people struggle with afternoon fog, afternoon crashes? Man, I don't even have that anymore. I'm just go from the moment I wake up until 8 o'clock at night, and I have that energy to fuel me and that cognitive function to fuel me too. So, great point, Garrett. Anything else?
Well, good questions. Following on what we were talking earlier, you were talking about how there really isn't an appropriate time necessarily to eat during the day, but obviously you need to eat a certain amount.
Yes.
I mean, I would imagine overeating is just as bad as eating the wrong items.
Right.
So, and you said even when you're eating keto, try not to indulge too much.
Right.
Try to get it down from 6 snacks a day. So, what would be a good way to find out what's the minimum I should be eating to try and, because obviously 2,000 calories is the general standard, but everybody's body's
So
different.
go to that rule.me is huge, because the rule.me, it will calculate your calories where they need to be. It'll tell you where your fats.
Ruled.me?
Ruled.me.
Ruled.
Yes, RULED.
Oh.
Yes. So it's an awesome website where you can go and literally figure out where your calories and all your macros need to be. So, and that's huge, because how are you going to know what you need to eat if you don't know where you need to be? And how are you going to know where you're at if you're not tracking? So when you're first doing it, track.
If you don't eat enough, and I know about intermittent fasting can help, but if you don't eat enough, your body will try and hold on to everything, right? What does that mean? What does the process mean?
I know,
when you're going into starvation, what does your body do?
And so when you go into starvation mode, your body literally changes on a cellular level. So it begins, your metabolism is going to be boosted, your immune system's going to be boosted, your brain's going to be more on fire. So your body kind of goes into overdrive. When we're in a fasted state and we're completely running off of our fat and all of our stores are depleted, that's when you really start noticing those huge changes. Now, people make this, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between intermittent fasting and cutting your calories, which is why I say intermittent fasting is not cutting your nutrients and your calories. Yes, if you want weight loss, a caloric deficit, yes, you will need. But
those are two separate things.
Yeah, two separate things. So
it's the difference between being healthy, losing weight, and not healthy, losing
weight. There is a healthy way of doing it. So intermittent fasting isn't cutting your calories, and it's just shortening your window. So during this 8-hour window, 6-hour window, 4-hour window, whatever it is, I'm getting everything.
It's still the balance of calories in versus calories out, and that's really dependent upon what your health goals are. If your health goal is to put on muscle, and gain weight, you're gonna have more calories in,
Mhm.
but they need to be the
More
proper
proteins
macros.
versus more fats.
Yeah,
Right,
so,
'cause when I'm
so
trying to-
proper macros with the proper exercise and all those type of things.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who's trying to lose weight, you still want to have a good ratio of your macros, but you're gonna have more calories out and calories in.
Yeah.
But that can still be done within that intermittent
Yeah,
fasting.
yeah. Okay, cool.
And figuring out where those need to be is huge. It's
Right.
huge because, like you said, building that muscle mass, you have to have a surplus. You have to have a surplus in your calories, and you need to make sure that you're getting those macros aligned to where you're getting in the right stuff
And
during that surplus.
they're constantly changing too.
Yeah.
As you are moving towards your progress, as you're progressing towards your goal, you need to change your macros, your calories, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
otherwise
I'd say
you
every
plateau
month.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every month, change it up and see where you're at. If your scale has changed, redo your macros. Redo your macros and say, okay, here's where I need to be now. But great point. Yeah, because it is going to change.
This is health is something that you'd never purchase once. You're really lease your health. You need to be working at it continually. When you stop working at it, you start to lose it.
Right.
You just can't buy it once and say that's it. You know.
Yeah.
So
Awesome questions, guys. Awesome questions. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy lives to be here and listen to me just do my spiel.
yeah.
So hopefully you gained maybe one tip from this, learned a little bit of something. I have all my business cards and flyers up here, so if you know of anybody who's interested in a keto nutrition coach, or if you yourself are, I would love to get the opportunity to have a consult and to discuss further, and then also my personal training. So if you're ever interested in getting into the gym and having a personal trainer with you, I would love to get that opportunity as well.
If I could ask one thing of you guys, just to go out this week, this month, have empathy for other people. If they are dealing with something that, you know, Courtney might be able to help them with, or that anybody else, it could be anything else. If somebody's dealing with something that you think you might be able to connect them with somebody else or help them in some way or another, I just ask that you try to do that. Just kind of paying it forward for everybody else. So I just want to thank you guys for coming in, and thank you, Courtney, too. This was great.
And hey to everybody in Facebook land.
Yeah.
Ah.